Nintendo announced two huge games in my opinion, obviously with Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, and the other games were great too. I am interested in playing the new Hyrule Warriors game even though it's the third one, and I am very excited for Kirby Air Ride, even though it kind of clashes with Mario Kart. So that's my kind of issues with those two, but still I'm very excited to play both of those games. But man, the first two games that they announced in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct were such a bummer. As two games that are kind of leading the train for Switch 2, it kind of made me upset that those are the games that they chose to go with. And I want to talk about them today and what we should have gotten instead as launch titles for Nintendo Switch 2 outside of just Mario Kart. But before we dive into all that, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. A lot of you subscribed the other day, over 700. Let's see how many we can get on today's video as well. I appreciate every single one of you, but let's dive into those two games that I'm talking about. So the first game I want to talk about is the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which was just a strange game from the start. Now when they first showed it, I really thought at first this was going to be what that playtest program was about, because if you've seen any of the gameplay, I can't show it because Nintendo's taking down videos of anybody that shares information about it, so I'm just going to talk about it. But if you didn't see, the Nintendo Switch 2 playtest program thing was kind of just this big MMO almost, this giant world where you'd run around and grab blocks and build towers and just work together to do something, but no one really knew what they were doing. That's what I thought this was going to be. Something like a huge new IP or something brand new, something that we've just never really seen from Nintendo. And instead, it's literally a tutorial about your Switch 2. It shows you how to take the Joy-Con off, how to put them back, how they're connecting via magnets, and that's really about it. It's literally like a guidebook that you're paying for, because there's a couple of mini games, and really the only two mini games I've seen anyone play was this little golf mini game and of course this UFO one where you're dodging spiked balls. And this is how they're trying to get across these new gimmicks to people, which is strange. Like, you have a brand new mouse mode function, how about you come up with a really unique game to show that off? And I'll get into that unique game in a second. But it just kind of seems like a tutorial thing, like setting up your Switch 2, how to get everything ready, which is fine if that's what it's supposed to be, but the fact that this is a paid game is just silly. Jake Randall on Twitter stated that the game will be $10, and he said, "I had someone tell me that they almost fell asleep while playing it at the Switch 2 event at Nintendo New York. There are mini games, but it's mainly an instruction manual." It also doesn't help the fact that this is a paid game, and I'm not the only one that feels this way. Almost everybody online is saying things like this is just absolutely insane that they're charging for an instruction manual. And yes, I know it's only $10, but couldn't they just added this literally as part of everyone's Switch 2s? Like, it's just a fun little neat thing that you can do. This seemed like something Nintendo definitely would have done in the past under Iwata or even under Reggie. And in fact, we got Wii Sports as a bundled in free game, all thanks to Reggie in the first place. And you can just tell since Iwata's passing and since Reggie has left the company, kind of the life force and soul is draining from them. And Nintendo's just starting to feel more straightforward and corporate, and you know, no fun with them. It's just, here's our games, here's this, pay for this, you know what I mean? And it just, you're missing that. And I wonder if that's the reason why Reggie left, or if they just kind of pushed him to that point where they wanted him to start, you know, being less fun and more serious. And I get it, all that fun stuff led to the Wii U age just being bleh, but I don't believe that's why the Wii U age was bleh. I just felt like it was a lot of other reasons, but I feel like Nintendo blamed it on that, and that's why we have to pay $10 for stuff like Welcome Tour, which is just teaching us what a Switch 2 is. Also, the Switch 2 has this brand new mouse mode support, which looks really cool. I just want to know why I want to use this, and so far I've really seen nothing outside of Metroid Prime 4 that made me really want to use it. And they didn't even show Metroid Prime 4 in the Switch 2 Direct, which is so strange. Instead, they showed this game, Drag and Drive, a new game that literally is just made to use with the mouse mode. It looks terrible. I'm sorry. Yes, it's cool that it's inclusive and it's just kind of, you know, showing that this is a real sport for people in wheelchairs, by the way, which is pretty cool, but in execution, this is terrible. I mean, the graphics look horrible. It looks like a 3DS game. It looks like something we'd play with like Metroid Blast Ball from a Federation Force, and it doesn't look good. Dragging the Joy-Con on the side of the desk, it just looks clumsy. I've heard literally from everyone that's played it so far said it's just eh. A lot of people said it's just not fun and got old very quickly. And it's strange too that some people out there are trying to compare this to the Switch 1's ARMS game, which no, ARMS actually had a lot of potential, and I feel like they could have even done more with that game with a sequel. There was a lot of love poured into that game with unique characters and art styles. The graphics was really great. There was different arms to switch in between. It just kind of lacked some content, but overall, no, I would not compare this to ARMS at all. And that's where we start to see a problem here. Switch 2 doesn't really have any games to take advantage of its new mechanics, such as this brand new mouse mode. Why add this thing when there's literally no reason to really want to bother with it right now? I'll get into Metroid Prime in a second, but outside of that game, I haven't seen anything that makes me want to use this mouse mode. Not even any like on Switch functions. Like even if there was like a browser, I think that'd be kind of cool to use it as an actual mouse and click and drag. But yeah, the games definitely no. I mean, for the Switch, like I said, their big focus with the games was the Joy-Con. The fact that they're like little Wiimotes, little motion control controllers. You can turn them. You can even use the triggers for certain things. And then ARMS was a perfect way to show this. You use the triggers to jump. You could hold them sideways. You could punch with them. And they worked really, really well. Honestly, ARMS was a pretty decent game. It wasn't anything super crazy, but I will say there's no way in the world you're trying to compare this game to this. And look, I'm not even remotely joking when I say this. I'd rather have another 1-2 Switch game than Drag and Drive and the Welcome Tour. I'm not joking. At least it was something that was fun for a little while you played with your friends, and if you had people over, you could show them, hey, this is this cool thing where you don't even need a TV. At least it had that kind of cool gimmick to it. 1-2 Switch was terrible still, definitely not a fan, but still, it would have definitely been something more unique, and it showed off the power of like the HD rumble, the motion controls and how accurate they were, and all the different things you could do with the Joy-Con, like moving them around and stuff. It was actually pretty cool for just this little game that came out as soon as the Switch did, and that's what it was supposed to be. It makes me mad because I love Mario Kart, I love Donkey Kong, but I was looking for that one type of Nintendo game or IP that was just different, and it was like that family game or that game that you just play as soon as you get the console, something like a Wii Sports, and I was really hoping Nintendo had a new game like that, and they didn't, and people loved Wii Sports, and even Wii Sports Resort, and I was hoping maybe they gave us like a Switch Sports Resort, something that we can sink some hours into, play by ourselves, or maybe even play with friends, just show off the new mouse functionality, show off what else the Joy-Con can do, maybe the new and improved rumble, something like that would have been great, as we still didn't even get anything like that when the Switch launched, so I was really hoping this time was the time, and we still didn't. Something else that I would have loved to see is Nintendo actually get creative once again and do something like a Nintendo Land 2. I know a sequel isn't really creative, but still, Nintendo Land was so good. It's one of the most underrated Nintendo games of all time. It was an awesome way to get new people interested into older Nintendo IPs or just different franchises that maybe they wouldn't have even known about. It actually helped me. It got me more interested into Metroid, more interested in some other Zelda games because I only played like a couple. It got me interested in the entire Pikmin franchise, and literally it could do the same thing nowadays with something like a Fire Emblem minigame or a Xenoblade minigame, giving people a fun little minigame to maybe get them excited for other IPs. It was a great marketing tool as well, so it's super strange to me why Nintendo decided to never revisit a Nintendo Land or something along those lines, because I just feel like it makes too much sense. And yes, I know we no longer have a gamepad necessarily with the Nintendo Switch, but they could have came up with some new functions that would have worked just as well. For instance, they could have had, the Joy-Con be used a lot more, maybe certain mini games that use the mouse mode, because there were certain mini games that only required you to use like the stylus and gamepad compared to like the TV and stuff. So I would have really loved for them to go for something more creative to start the Switch 2. And don't get me wrong, I love Kirby Air Ride. I actually grew up with that game as one of my earlier games in my childhood, but still, I think I would have much rather seen Sakurai work on maybe another revival of an old IP, whether it be Ice Climbers or just simply bringing back Kid Icarus, because how in the world is this game still not back? No remake, no remaster, no sequel, nothing from this game, which is still one of the most underrated Nintendo games of all time, along with Nin10do Land. And this game would have been perfect for mouse mode. How in the world did Nintendo miss this opportunity? The whole purpose of Kid Icarus Uprising is to get through levels by dragging the stylus and aiming and shooting. How in the world could Nintendo not put two and two together to have the perfect mouse mode capability game with Kid Icarus Uprising? Look, I know it's early and Nintendo's only slated out like a couple of months in the beginning year of Switch 2, and there's so many years left for this to actually happen, but still, this is the time frame where you want to have these games released, because people are more often to buy pretty much everything that comes out that first year. I know I did with Switch 1. I know a lot of my friends did. I know a lot of people I know bought pretty much everything because they just got a brand new console. They want to fill it with games, and they want to try out everything that Nintendo has in store for the first couple of years. This is the time to get people interested in something like Kid Icarus. Show people why people love it so much. And I'm not saying that it absolutely had to be Kid Icarus or nothing. I mean, I would have loved to see Star Fox come back because it's just been having a rough go the last couple of years, and literally since Star Fox Zero, it's been really bad, and even a little bit before that. To see a brand new Star Fox game to start Switch 2 would have been so impressive, and would have been a great way to have this new game of an old IP revival, and shoot, even Star Fox could have utilized the mouse mode in some potential when it comes to aiming. My point is, Welcome Tour and Drag and Drive felt like cheap games that they could sell us just because they could, and it was early in the Switch 2 lifecycle, so they know people are going to buy them, and it cost them little to nothing to make. But it's not going to do anything for Nintendo in the long run. It's not going to revitalize some old IP. It's not going to get them more money with certain franchises because this is going to be one-off games, and then they're over. So honestly, buy them if you want, but I would think the best thing to do here is to not purchase these games and just show Nintendo we don't want games like this, because if you do, great, buy it. If not, don't buy it. But what do you think of these two starter games from Nintendo? Do you think they could have done better with something else? Do you think they could have actually given us an old IP revival or just replaced these with like a Wii Sports or something? Are you still interested in any of these two games for some reason? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.